Thanks for joining us for Australia's biggest child safety lesson, brought to you by the Daniel Morgan Foundation. I'm one of your hosts, Olivia.
And I'm Ollie. This year we'll be talking about consent. At certain points during the show, you'll notice a teacher pause button. Teachers watching this with your class, this is a good place to pause and discuss what's going on.
Today, we're going to learn what consent is, why it's so important, and how to seek, give, or deny consent. We'll be doing this through exploring some real-life scenarios, talking with some experts, and hearing from our safety helpers. We'll also be playing Yes, No, or Maybe, which you can join in with.
So, what's consent?
Consent is an agreement between two people. It's similar to permission.
Let's find out more about consent from our special guest, Amanda Morgan.
Let's go meet her.
You're watching
ABCSL.
Hey Amanda.
Hey guys, thank you for inviting me to be a part of ABCSL.
Thanks for being here. So, Amanda, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a yada yada woman, a survivor advocate and a consent expert, and I'm excited to be here with you today on Turrbal, Gubbi Gubbi and Waka Waka country.
Awesome. So, what is consent?
Well, like Olivia said, it's an agreement between two people. For consent to be given, it needs to be freely given, reversible, informed, enthusiastic and specific. This is also known as consent prize. So this means that it's without fear, without being forced to do it, or even just doing it because you want to impress the other person. We actually use consent at heaps of times during our day-to-day lives. For example, asking to sit next to someone, borrowing someone's pencil, or touching other people. It's not just as simple as yes or no. Not saying no also doesn't mean that someone actually consents. For example, if I grabbed Ollie's lollies he was eating and he felt awkward saying no to me, he hasn't given his consent. Consent is also time-specific and can change. Youth Law Australia define consent as getting permission to do something. Legally, consent means free and voluntary agreement. A person does not freely agree if they're pressured, threatened, asleep or unconscious.
What about if someone does want consent or wants to do something? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sometimes we will want to say yes. We call this giving consent. Active and enthusiastic consent are what we're ideally looking for. And you know, when someone definitely wants to do something.
Oh, that's interesting. But let's come back to enthusiastic consent a bit later on. We asked Aussie kids to tell us what they think consent means. Let's see what they thought.
Consent is where you ask for permission or somebody gives you permission to do something.
And making sure they're okay with what you're doing.
An example of consent is like where you want to post a video of like your friends, but you got to ask their permission so they're okay with it.
Consent is basically to give permission. For example, if I were to post a picture of my friend on the group chat, I'd have to ask him before I could post it.
So what is consent?
Consent is where you ask someone for permission and you listen for their response.
Consent is where you ask for permission before you do something that they might not want you to do.
Giving consent can be just saying yes to someone pushing you on the swing or wanting to dance. If someone wants to post a picture of you, but you don't feel comfortable sending that picture around the world, you don't have to, even though it's your best friend.